All right, let's get right into it. Today we're going to talk about managing cravings. And this isn't about just gritting your teeth and using willpower. No, this is about giving you a real practical framework so you can understand what's happening in your mind and body, and most importantly, how you can navigate it.
And I want to start with this really powerful idea, urge surfing. Think about it. Instead of fighting a craving like it's some kind of monster you have to defeat, what if you thought of it as a wave? Just a wave of energy. It rises, it hits a peak, and then it falls. Your job isn't to stop the ocean, it's just to learn how to surf. This single idea, this is going to be our guide for this whole explainer.
So, if you're going to learn to surf the wave, what do you need to do first? Well, you got to understand what the wave actually is. So, let's get our definition straight.
Okay, so at its most basic, a craving is just a desire, right? A longing to use. But here's the thing you really need to get. It's all about the intensity. A craving isn't always some giant, overwhelming tidal wave. Sometimes it's just a little ripple. And just knowing that it exists on a spectrum, that's the first huge step to getting a handle on it.
And this next part, this is super important. A craving is the feeling, but an urge, that's your intention to do something about it. See that? There's a little bit of space between the two. And in that space, that's where all your power is. You can have a craving without it ever having to become an urge.
Now, cravings can be kind of sneaky, you know? The overt ones, they're obvious. You know exactly what's happening. But then you have these covert or hidden cravings. They don't announce themselves. They just show up as you suddenly feeling irritable or anxious or just off. You might not even connect it to a craving, and that's what makes them so tricky. So, if cravings are the waves, what or who is making them? Well, that's where triggers come in. They're like the winds and the currents that stir up the water. And to be a good surfer, you've got to be able to read the ocean. You have to know where the waves are coming from.
And this little map right here, it shows you the whole chain reaction. It all kicks off with a trigger. That trigger sparks a thought, or maybe a feeling. And that leads to the craving, you feel it in your body, and then that leads to your behavior. Breaking this chain at any point is the key, but first, you got to see how it's all connected.
And basically triggers fall into two big buckets, external and internal. Stuff that happens out there in the world around you, and stuff that happens in here, inside your own head and body. Let's look at a few examples.
You know what I'm talking about. The external ones are often the most obvious. Being around certain people, going to a specific place, maybe even just smelling something. Bam! It can kickstart that whole chain reaction we just saw. These are really powerful cues from your environment.
But don't forget about what's going on inside. These internal triggers can be just as powerful. And here's a big one that trips people up. It's not just the bad feelings. Feeling great, wanting to celebrate, feeling happy, those can be huge triggers too. It all comes down to the associations your brain has built over time.
Okay, so we know what cravings are. We know what sets them off. What's next? Well, now we become detectives. We start tracking them. Just like a sailor has to chart the tides to navigate, tracking your cravings helps you spot the patterns and, believe it or not, see how much progress you're making.
And this is your #1 tool for the job, the daily craving record. And look, it doesn't have to be this big, scary thing. It's really simple. The whole point is to just take a moment each day to notice, did I have any cravings? How strong were they? Just the simple act of paying attention is incredibly powerful.
The scale is super simple. It goes from a 0, which means no cravings, all the way up to a 5, for when it feels really severe and intense. This just gives you a consistent way to measure your experience from one day to the next.
So why bother with all this tracking? Well, let me show you something. Take a look at Sharon's progress here. When she started, her cravings were severe, a solid 5. But because she was tracking, she could actually see that over time, the intensity went way down. This kind of visual proof is so motivating because it shows you that cravings don't stay at a level 5 forever. They do get smaller, they do get more manageable.
All right, this is where the rubber meets the road. We've done our research, we've charted the waters. Now it's time to actually build our surfboard. This is your personal toolkit of coping strategies, the real, actual things you can do the moment a craving hits.
First things first, let's talk about your environment. This is all about controlling what you can control. It's like clearing the rocks out of the water before you even try to surf. If the triggers aren't there in the first place, they can't start that chain reaction. This is all about creating a safe space for yourself, especially early on.
Next up, your brain. These are your cognitive strategies, and they're all about the story you tell yourself when that wave starts to build. You can literally talk yourself through it. Reminding yourself this feeling is temporary. This will pass. That's one of the most powerful tools you have. Even just delaying a decision for an hour or two can be enough for the wave to pass completely. Then you've got your behavioral tools. These are about doing something. Because sometimes the best way to change how you feel is to change what you're doing. Get up, move your body, distract your mind with something totally different. Action can be the perfect antidote to a craving.
And please don't try to do this alone. Your interpersonal toolkit, your people, are absolutely crucial. Just reaching out and telling someone what's going on can slice the power of a craving right in half. And it's also about having the wisdom to know when you just need to walk away from a risky situation.
And finally, let's talk about substitutes. Sometimes your brain is just looking for a familiar pattern or a ritual. So, you can give it one. If you used to smoke, maybe chewing gum gives you that same oral fixation. If you always had a drink after work, find a new, awesome non-alcoholic drink to enjoy instead. It's about replacing the ritual.
So, we've got all the pieces, right? We understand the wave, we've mapped the ocean, we've built this amazing custom surfboard with all our tools. Now, it's time to paddle out and actually ride.
So, when you feel that craving start, here's what you do. Instead of panicking or fighting it, you just sit with it. First, close your eyes and picture it as a wave in the ocean. Second, focus all your attention on your breath. Your breath is your surfboard. It's what keeps you balanced and steady. Third, just notice the feelings in your body as that wave gets bigger, as it peaks, and then as it starts to fade away. You're just an observer. You're not fighting, you're just riding it out until it gently brings you back to shore.
And really, that's what this is all about. You are not powerless against your cravings. You can't stop the waves from coming. That's just part of being in the ocean. But you can, 100%, learn how to surf. So the real question is, what will your practice look like tomorrow? What's one small thing you can try?